Hello and welcome to a special episode of The Australian Runner, a show about running and everything running related. I'm Ben, and with me is Chris.
Hi everyone.
This special episode is a recap and our thoughts on the second night of the Nitro Athletics series. Let's get into it. So last night was the second night of Bolt's Nitro Athletics series.
Yeah.
So it was exciting, full of really good events and performances.
Mm-hmm.
So in this episode, we're going to talk about our favourite event, our favourite performance, and one moment we thought was really interesting.
Yeah.
Do you want to start off?
Yeah, so we'll start with favourite event. And mine was the 4x4. The first event of the night was a 4x4. It was mixed. So you had 2 men, 2 women, and they could be in any order, and the order was completely up to the team. So that was very tactical about which team decided to run which order of men and women. The Australians lost by about a metre to the English, and Morgan Mitchell was running the last leg for Australia. She had quite a big lead, but Campbell, the Englishman Campbell, he chased her down and overtook her literally 5 metres before the finish line, blew her a kiss. It was quite funny. It was really good. And it was just a great way to start off with it being a tight affair. And the fact that there's men and women, you see like one team really far ahead and it's a woman running, and then you see the bloke come charging up and just sprinting up behind. So it's really tough to tell who's actually ahead because everyone's just spread out and everyone's running all over the shop. It was a good way to kick off the program and kick off meet 2. It set the bar high. What about you? Did you have a favourite event last night?
Well, my favourite event was a bit different. It was the javelin. And I think that's the first time I've ever said that javelin was my favourite event at an athletics meet, which is a bit harsh, but I found how they had the bonus points in the last round that kept me interested. So how that worked was they had 4 throws, and on the last round they got bonus points if the javelin landed in this small wedge straight down the centre. So that kept everyone guessing as to who would win because it placed that extra weight on the accuracy of that last throw.
Yeah, and how they had the target, which was really interesting. It wasn't just like a circle or anything. It was like a V shape out. I think it was at 50 metres out. So you had to throw it a fair way just to even get the target.
Yeah, and it just that extra level of maybe they've been doing some target practice in training rather than just going for distance as well, which would be really interesting.
You'd think maybe those with the best technique would throw straightest and might win, but not necessarily, I don't think.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
It definitely is a good event. It's definitely made it interesting, made it worthwhile. Got you watching a discipline that you wouldn't usually watch. So, yeah, it was an interesting event, definitely. One of the best of the night.
Moving along from that, what was your favourite performance of the night?
Well, in the 3-minute relay, in the first leg for the Bolt All-Stars was Matthew Ramsden, an Australian 19-year-old athlete, and running for Australia was Luke Matthews. He's just turned 21, so 2 up-and-coming, well, Matthews went to Rio, up-and-coming stars of the Australian athletics scene. They got to go head-to-head in it, and Ramsden, I thought before the race, had to go from the gun and just run hard, run it like a time trial, and he did just that. They went through a K in about 2:28, 60-second pace. The heat was on. Matthews stuck with him the whole way, and by the time the 3 minutes over, it was basically a dead heat. I've seen a photo of when they finished, and literally Matthews is right up his tail. Didn't have a kick to overtake him, but was strong enough to be able to hold on. And I think they covered 1,250 metres, like 1,250 metres. Just incredible how far they could get in their 3 minutes, and both performances were very elite, and I thought, yeah, that's my performance for meet 2. What about you? You've got something different.
Yeah, well, not including Morgan Mitchell on the decks, my favourite performance was the last lap of the men's elimination mile, where Ryan Gregson, in probably the last 300 meters, just had the biggest kick I think I've ever seen anyone run.
It was a kick and a half, definitely.
He probably beat his opponent by a solid 100 meters.
Yeah.
That was just really incredible. Obviously, he had Jen Lacars on. I was watching it on the TV, and we heard her yelling encouragement from the sidelines as well. But yeah, I just thought that kick was it was unbeatable.
It was devastating, wasn't it? The amount of meters he could put on his opponent, who's a quality athlete himself, was just incredible. It just shows you the class of Gregson and how well he's going at the moment, especially early in the season.
And our last category for today is our favourite interesting moment. So this could be any moment throughout the night that didn't fit into either of those categories, but we really loved.
Yeah, so after meet one where we had Luke Matthews doing the Salt Bay, we've gone to an admin error almost, where in the women's elimination mile, at the end of the first lap, it was a bunch sprint across that line, and they were nearly running the whole way across the track. And the announcer goes over the top, it looks like the Bolt All-Stars were in last place, and Camille Buscombe from New Zealand was running for them. So she's like, oh no, I'm done here. Steps off the track, looks up at the scoreboard. Japan was actually the team eliminated, their competitor. And she was still in, so she kept running anyway. They go through, finish their second lap. The Japanese competitor by then is 10 metres off the back, clearly pulled aside. But then Camille Buscombe jumps back in and then runs through to about 120 metres to go when John Stephenson jumps onto the tracks like, nah, you're getting off. You can't skip a lap, even if you weren't meant to be off. So it was interesting that she was wrongly pulled off, or she took herself off on wrong information, and then she just jumped back in. So that could be something they could look at. I think we'll do more analysis on how they could improve events after all three meets. But it was definitely something interesting during the night. John Stephenson interviewed her, and she was like, yeah, I didn't know what I was doing. Like, I was confused. I didn't know whether to jump back on or whatever. So,
and Usain wasn't very happy with that whole debacle either.
Not a happy
We saw
camper.
angry Usain last night.
We did. He's so competitive, and I haven't realised just how competitive he was until this. I mean, they're all athletes. They all want to win, but he seems to be competitive in every sense of the word.
My favourite interesting moment was probably the most controversial of the night. It was Australia's disqualification in the final event, the 4x100 metres. So what happened was Jack Hale was handing the baton to Lapierre. That was the second to third runner changeover, and they didn't manage to change over the baton inside the designated area. So at first, we thought that they'd definitely be eliminated, and then they spoke to Moneghetti, the head referee, and then they said it would be fine. And then when the TV coverage finished, that was what we'd thought, and it was only after the TV coverage had finished that we found out that Australia actually was disqualified, and this had a huge impact on the final scoreboard, because even Australia coming last had enough points to win the night overall. But the DQ got docked 50 points, which put Australia into second place behind the Bolt All-Stars.
Yeah, it was big. I saw the race and didn't even realise that they'd missed the change. I just saw how far they were behind with 100 to go, and I was thinking, God, they must have had a poor change. But I didn't realise, looking at the footage, Lapierre literally stopped at the end of the change zone waiting for Hale. He'd taken off way too early.
Yeah, way too quick.
And then he ended up taking a couple more steps, and they changed just outside. So I do agree with the disqualification, but silly. All they had to do was get around, not even get the win, just get through, but couldn't do it. And as a result, as you said, we ended up second.
Jack Hale didn't look very happy after that either. I think there might have been a bit of blame from his end on Lapierre for going a bit too early.
Yeah, jumped the gun, definitely. But Lapierre is a long jumper, so I can't imagine how many relay changes he's done over the years. He is fast, one of the good things was seeing him do a track event. Quite enjoyed seeing him
Yeah.
cross over. So that was one interesting aspect. But yeah, that was definitely an interesting part of the night.
So that wraps it up for this episode about the second night. We're hanging out for the third and final night of this ATH series on Saturday. So on Sunday, we'll be coming to you with our final podcast. This will be a big one. It'll be all about our thoughts on the full 3 nights and the series in general, what we thought, what they could do better, we thought they did really well, and our thoughts about it if they decide to continue doing it as well.
Yeah.
So it's at Lakeside on Saturday night. It's sold out. We're very excited for it. So thank you everyone for listening. You can find us on YouTube, iTunes or SoundCloud as The Australian Runner, and check us out on Facebook and Instagram too. Catch you later.
See you then.